Today we're going to start talking about the folk tale of Hansel and Gretel and how to draw a gingerbread house and where gingerbread houses came from. Did you know that people started making gingerbread houses around 500 years ago at the end of the Middle Ages? It's a really, really long time ago, isn't it? Ginger root, which is what is used to make gingerbread, originated in China. It took a long time to come to Europe, so it was considered a delicacy and only used for medicine or around special holidays. Gingerbread houses became a holiday tradition in Germany and then spread to other nations as well. No one is sure if the folktale of Hansel and Gretel was inspired by the creation of gingerbread houses, or if the creation of gingerbread houses was inspired by the story of Hansel and Gretel. They tend to go hand in hand and show up in history around the same time period. The brothers Grimm recorded the tale of Hansel and Gretel in 1810, although the story is much older than that. Now let's follow along with me as I read you the story of Hansel and Gretel and then show you how to draw your own gingerbread house.
Alright, today we're going to talk about Hansel and Gretel. So this is the story that I'm going to read you. Hansel and Gretel. Once upon a time, a brother and sister named Hansel and Gretel lived in a little house near the woods. Their father was very poor and could not feed the whole family. Their stepmother, an evil woman, convinced the man to abandon his two children. That evening, Hansel and Gretel heard their father and stepmother talking, but they did not understand what was about to happen. See, they're there talking. The next day, the father told the little ones, "Let us go into the forest to gather wood." The stepmother gave Hansel a piece of bread for lunch and dinner. The children followed their father happily into the woods, but Hansel, who had always been a cautious boy, dropped the breadcrumbs along the way. The breadcrumbs would show them the path home in case anything happened. In the woods, the father said, "Wait here. I'm going to go gather some wood, then I'll come back for you." And he walked away sadly. Left alone, Hansel and Gretel waited for their father to return. Night fell, and Hansel and Gretel became frightened. Their father had not returned, and Gretel was very scared by the darkness of the woods. Hansel held his sister tightly to comfort her. "Do not worry, dear sister. I will bring you home. We will follow the breadcrumbs I left along the way." When they reached home, the father was very happy and embraced his two children. The stepmother, however, flew into a rage. She convinced the father to take them back into the woods and leave them there forever. She's not very nice, is she? The next day, Hansel, who was a shrewd boy, once again dropped breadcrumbs along the way, but when it came time to follow the breadcrumbs home, he discovered that the birds had eaten them. So the two children were truly lost in the woods. Hansel and Gretel walked a while until they came upon the entrance of a little cottage. It was made of gingerbread, with a roof of biscuits and windows of sugar. Hungry as they were, they decided to have a little taste. Suddenly, an old woman with a kind and caring face appeared at the door and invited the children up. Hansel and Gretel accepted, not knowing that the old woman was, in fact, an evil witch who lured children into her home only to eat them. The old witch wasted no time in imprisoning Hansel and immediately locking him in a small cage. Then she sent Gretel into the kitchen and forced her to wash and clean, dust and bake, and do all the housework. The witch, before eating the little boy, wanted to fatten him up a bit first, and forced Gretel to prepare all kinds of foods, all kinds of dishes. Every day the old witch checked how Hansel was fattening by pinching his finger, but Hansel, who was quite clever, gave her a chicken bone instead. So the witch yelled, "You're not fat enough. You must eat more." One day, the old woman, now impatient, decided to cook the boy. "Gretel, where are you?" she shouted. "Come here now and light the stove." When the evil witch approached to see if the stove was hot enough, Gretel shoved her in and closed the door after her. The 2 children were now free of the wicked witch forever. The witch had been rich, and the children took possession of her treasures. They gathered gems, coins, and precious stones. Happy, they returned home. The father embraced his children once again and sent the evil stepmother away. And so they all lived happily ever after. The end. Okay, now we're going to talk about how to draw a gingerbread house. So with your white paper, I want to make sure it is horizontal, which means sideways. If it's straight up and down like this, that's vertical. Sideways is horizontal. So you want to make sure your paper is horizontal for this lesson. Then just follow along with me. Remember, if you're doing this at home, you can pause your video anytime and get caught up. I will try and go fairly slow so you can follow along. So using a pencil, I'm going to look near the bottom of my page. I don't want it at the very bottom because we're going to draw some steps leading up to the house. But near the bottom of my page, I'm going to draw a horizontal line. It does not have to be perfectly straight, just a straight. Remember, we've talked about straight lines. Just a straight line near the bottom of the page, not in the middle, not up top, near the bottom. All right, now we're going to use a shape to build our house. Most houses have the same shape, and it is called a pentagon. So if you're learning your shapes, you know this already. It's a 5-sided shape. And so the first side is going to be on the ground right here. Then I'm going to draw. It's almost like a V, but there's a space in between. So I make one diagonal line here, leave a space, make the other side of the V on this side, like that. And then I'm going to make a triangle top, but I'm not going to draw the line in the middle. So I'm going to make a triangle top here and there. And there we have a pentagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. So with this, we can make any type of house you want, but we're going to be making a gingerbread house. And gingerbread houses are made out of candy. So we're going to start adding some candy decorations to our house. So the first thing we need to do before we add any candy decoration is we need to add a door. So we're going to draw a curved line like this. If you want your door to be a rectangle door, that's fine. You can do a rectangle door. And of course you need a doorknob to be able to open the door. There we go. And now that you have your door, we're going to start adding some decorations. I'm going to make a curved line just like that on both sides. What you do on one side, you probably should do on the other for most of the house. So I'm going to make a curved line on either side of my house. These curved lines are going to turn into candy canes. So I'm going to follow this line back up, and where it curves, I'm going to curve this line and connect it just like that. You could also do it the other way, is from the bottom of the curve it back up and around and back down. Either way works, as long as you have your candy cane. Now the stripes for the candy cane are not going to go straight across, because the stripes on a candy cane kind of spiral. They go up. So I'm going to make a diagonal line, and it's going to go at an angle like this. Remember, we've talked about diagonal lines. They're like a straight line, but they don't go up and down or straight across. They go at an angle. So I'm making diagonal lines. They go up my candy cane. Now, when the candy cane starts to turn, the line has to turn with it. So instead of angling it this way, I'm going to angle it straight up like this. I'm going to angle it over. And this one's going to angle down like that for our candy cane, so it looks like it curves with the candy cane. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side, making those diagonal lines. And when you get to the curve, your diagonal line is going to curve too, just like that. Give you a second to get caught up. You can always pause it if you need to. Then the next step, once we have done our candy canes, so we're going to add some gumdrops or some candies to the roof line. And I'm just going to make a curved line. This is like a bumpy line. Or for my little ones who are still learning their lines and their letters, imagine drawing an M like that, and doing it over and over again. So you're drawing M's, and it's going to follow the roof line around. Like that, all the way across your roof. And that will make it look like a gingerbread house with all the candy across the top. Now, to make a gingerbread house, to make it look realistic, like a real gingerbread house, then we need to add some icing to it, or some frosting, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to add some dripping, just a wavy line, like a snake, up and down. It doesn't all have to line up perfectly. Just a dripping line like this across the top of my roof. And that's going to make it look more gingerbread-like, because it looks like the icing is dripping down off the roof. Now you can decorate it however you want. You can follow along with me, or you can add other different decorations to it. I'm going to add some windows to mine, and I'm going to make mine peppermint windows. So I'm going to draw a wavy line, like an S, on the inside of that window. And then I'm going to turn my paper and draw another wavy line, like an S. Then turn it one more time. Draw another wavy line, like an S. And you can do as many as you want. You could do a lot of them. You could just do a few. But you want them spaced out fairly evenly. And I will show you why. I'm making peppermints, and peppermints, the traditional peppermints, are red and white striped. And so there we have that. Then we're going to add a chimney. And your chimney would be like a rectangle. Of course, you won't see the bottom of the rectangle because it's on the roof line. But you could draw the top part of a rectangle like that. You could add a wavy line here to make it look like icing on your chimney. And the more decorations you add, the better it's going to look. You can add some candy, some big old gumdrops or candies out here beside the house. I'm going to add a little walkway here. I'm going to use a rectangle under that line. Do you see that rectangle there? You can add one rectangle. You can add two rectangles. And you notice I didn't put them right underneath each other. I kind of separated them a little bit, so it looks like they don't line up perfectly. And then I'm going to add another rectangle right there. And you can add as many as you want. I think 3 is a good number. But if you have room to do more, by all means do more. This is your gingerbread house. This is just an example. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make, it's probably frosting if you were actually making a gingerbread house, but I'm going to make it look like it snowed. So I'm going to make a wavy line that comes from the edge of my line, or from the edge of your paper if you did it all the way to the edge of your paper. And I'm going to make a wavy line that comes down near the bottom of the page, just like that. And there's my gingerbread house. Again, I didn't go crazy with lots of decorations. You could go nuts, but remember, you do need to color it. So don't waste time. Don't waste so much time drawing it that you don't have time to color. All right, and then I'm just going to color it, and I will show you. I'll fast forward through this, and then you will see what it looks like when it's done. And so there's my gingerbread house. Y'all see that? And so I've made the snow here. And if you want, you can outline the snow and the icing, whatever you want to call it. You can outline it with black to make it show up better against your white paper. Or you could color in the sky and the area around it. That's completely up to you. Again, do what you have time to do. And you might not finish it completely today, and that's okay. You can take it home and finish it there.
And this is my final gingerbread house. You see how I went back and outlined my snow area with black? You are welcome to do that. And also don't forget to sign your name at the end. And when you finish it, sign your name down there at the very bottom, like any other artist would. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had fun drawing your gingerbread houses today. Good job on your gingerbread houses. I bet they look awesome. Let's review a couple of things if we have time here at the end of class. What country did gingerbread houses come from? Do you remember? Number 2, how long have people been making gingerbread houses? Number 3, what kind of story is Hansel and Gretel? Think about the type of stories you've heard about. Is it a folk tale? Is it a fairy tale? Is it a biography? What kind of story is it? And number 4, what other decorations did you add to your gingerbread house? Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being a wonderful class today. I hope you had fun too.